Stadium, which led to the death of 11 people. But thankfully, the good news that's also coming in, as my colleague Harish was pointing out, that the 56 injured are not in any serious condition and are set to make a recovery. Now, shifting focus, Trinamool Congress MP Mahua Moitra has tied the knot with senior Biju Janata Dal leader Pinaki Mishra in a private ceremony held in Germany. Moitra, the two-time Lok Sabha member from Krishnanagar in West Bengal, and Mishra, the veteran parliamentarian from Odisha's Puri, have not made a public statement about the wedding so far, but those are the visuals on your screen, accessed by CNN News 18 of the wedding ceremony in Germany. And shifting focus, the Home Ministry has announced that India will count its population by the 1st of March in the year 2027 in the census, which will be held after an unprecedented 16-year gap. This will be the country's first digital census and the first in independent India to include an enumeration of castes as well. The census exercise will be conducted in two phases by the 28th of February in the year 2027. However, the government has not yet notified the date of commencement of the exercise. The notification of the centre's intention to conduct the census and the dates of the two phases will be published in the official gazette tentatively on the 16th of June as per provision of Section 3 of the Census Act. Now, in states like Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand and the union territories like Ladakh, the census will be conducted in October 2026. Now, as per the constitutional mandate, the first census after 2026 can be used as the basis to redraw the Lok Sabha constituencies.
देखिए, इन लोगों की मंशा जो है वो ठीक नहीं है और हम लोगों ने पहले भी कहा, तो बिहार चुनाव को देखते हुए इन लोगों ने जो है अनाउंस किया है और हम लोगों का एक दबाव था। ये हम लोगों की जीत थी और हम लोगों की पुरानी मांग रही है, तब इनको जो है केवल जो है पास कैबिनेट से करना पड़ा है। लेकिन अभी कह रहे हैं 2 चरणों में होगी। हम तो कह रहे हैं जाति के साथ हम लोग वर्गों का भी करवाएंगे कि आखिर पता चले कि कितनी जातियां हैं और कितने ओबीसी हैं, कितने ईबीसी हैं। वर्ग का भी जो है कॉलम जो है आना चाहिए।
And more breaking news coming in. Congress Party Speaker Chidambaram has questioned the delay in the caste census, says the nationwide census should have been conducted in 2021, but because of COVID, the census was postponed, and the Congress understood the reason for that, but there was no reason not to conduct the census in 2022 or 2023. The census could have been conducted immediately after the elections in 2024, is the pitch coming in from the former union minister. P. Chidambaram also stresses that since the census will be conducted in 2027, is the statement coming in from the former union minister. The delimitation will follow and Tamil Nadu and several states will lose their seats in the Lok Sabha. That is the statement coming in from P. Chidambaram, who has said that this census should have been immediately conducted after the 2024 general elections. Also raising the matter that has been stated by the DMK several times, that after the delimitation exercise, states like Tamil Nadu will lose their seats. I'm joined by my colleague Pallavi Ghosh on the broadcast. So Pallavi, first the initial pitch was the caste census, but clearly the announcement from the government has taken the wind out of those sails. Is the Congress party now trying to corner the government on these particular points?
Well, the Congress is very clearly not happy with this announcement of the caste census going to be beginning, because they feel that this is again going to be time so that the simultaneous delimitation takes place and the redrawing of the constituencies will happen in 2029, by which time there's going to be yet another Lok Sabha election, and the redrawing of the constituency is going to end up benefiting the BJP. The narrative which many leaders of the Congress, especially from down south, along with the DMK allies, has been on the fact that this is something which is going to suit the parties which are in the northern belt, which is of course the BJP, which is not that influential or powerful as far as South is concerned. And that is the reason why the argument which is being given by the Congress party is that, one, the timing of the caste census is such which is going to be followed up with the delimitation or redrawing of the constituencies, which is going to benefit the BJP. And second, they say that there has to be a more clarity. What kind of a deadline are you going to be giving? There has to be more of a clarity on what kind of census you're conducted. How are you going to find out about the caste? Will the subcaste also be included? So clearly the politics over census, politics over caste census has not ended.
Right, thank you, Pallavi, for getting us that piece of breaking news. So the Congress party now saying that why wasn't the census held in 2022, 2023 and after the general elections in 2024? Also, once again stating the alarm that's coming in from the DMK that Tamil Nadu and several other states will lose their seats in the Lok Sabha. So as Pallavi was pointing out, the alarm coming in from the opposition camp is that this will benefit the northern states, the pro-BJP states, as compared to the southern states. We're shifting focus to some more news that's coming in. The DGCA has uncovered several safety and compliance violations by Turkish Airlines during the recent surprise checks at major Indian airports, raising concerns over the airline's adherence to international and domestic aviation standards. The inspections took place in Hyderabad, Chennai, Delhi and Bengaluru. The inspection also found that cargo classified as dangerous goods did not have required permissions from the DGCA for the transportation of explosives to and from or over India. Now, these permissions were neither attached nor referenced in the dangerous goods declaration. A significant lapse was identified at the Bengaluru airport, where the marshaller responsible to guide the aircraft during taxiing was found to be untrained. Now, the Civil Aviation Ministry has asked Turkish Airlines to address these findings promptly and ensure full compliance with ICAO standards and recommended practices, as well as DGCA regulations. And I'm joined by my colleague Anvit Srivastav on the broadcast. So Anvit, some glaring lapses found by the Civil Aviation Ministry when it comes to the operation of Turkish Airlines, something that was happening under the radar for several years. What more details can you get for us after these stunning revelations coming in from the big airports across the country?
So, Ayushman, this was between May 29th and June 2 that DGCA had conducted the safety oversight and RAP inspections of Turkish Airlines passenger and cargo flights at the four major Indian airports that are Delhi, Hyderabad, Chennai and Bengaluru. And the inspections were carried out to ensure compliance with both international and national safety regulations. After recent escalations with Turkey, since it came out in support of Pakistan, making open statements backing Babri Pahalgam attack and then boycott of tourists by Indian tourists, traveling to Turkish, and in the wake of all of that. But what's more grave is that this surprise inspection has led to revelations that serious violations at part of Turkish Airlines, and these include marshaller competency. So basically, marshals are staff that ensure safety and efficiently guide an aircraft when it's grounded, when it is on ground. And it was found that at Bengaluru airport particularly, the marshaller handling ground operations lacked proper authorization and a valid competency for marshalling functions. Other than that, the cargo was the cargo that was scanned. It was found contained some dangerous goods, quote unquote, for which permissions are required from DGCA for carriage of such items. And this was found that nor it was mentioned in the dangerous goods category that the item that it was carrying. Neither it was the competent authorities were informed in DGCA by the Turkish Airlines. Further, it has also been found that at both Hyderabad and Bengaluru airport, where Globe Ground India was providing ground services, without any formal handover from Televi, against which Indian government had recently taken action, it was found no service level agreement, which is SLA, was in place between Turkish Airlines and the ground handling agent. In fact, other than these three grievous violations, it has also been found that during arrival of the aircraft of Turkish Airlines, it was noted that aircraft maintenance engineer had been unavailable, and the arrival procedure were also being done by the technical staff, more or less. So these violations that the DGC has now made public, they certainly are grave in the nature and also in the wake of all the escalation that has happened between India and Pakistan, and how Turkey has openly come out in support of it.
Right, thank you, Anvit, for getting us those details. Now let's listen into more reactions coming in.
Mark, we're just highlighting for our audiences what it is that the DGCA has flagged. First, if I could ask you, if you've just had a chance to look over the different aspects that the DGCA has flagged, what were your first impressions?
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me. I think what the DGCA has done is this is part of the standard surveillance that DGCA does for not just Turkish Airlines, but for any aircraft, any cargo, any commercial aircraft that comes into India, whether it's Russian registered, Chinese, Turkish, Thai, American, Emirates. This is something which you have to do under something which is called SAFA, or Safety Assessment of Foreign Aircraft. And anyone who flies into India, you have to comply with law of the land. So this is something which is not new. India has been doing SAFA inspections since the last 50 and 60 years. It's the intent of this inspection that's a bigger concern, because if you do this inspection with an aircraft coming in from Emirates or even Singapore Airlines or Malaysian Airlines or United or Delta or whatever, you're going to have findings. It doesn't mean that It's a terror threat. Now,
Right.
DG or dangerous goods is governed by IATA. Okay, so there are a lot of things under DG which you have to comply when it comes to documentation. It doesn't mean that it is a bomb or something which is a terror threat or something which is an explosive. Certain chemicals are considered explosives, whether you're carrying acetone or even your lithium ion batteries are combustible. They're also considered explosives. But it's the point I'm trying to say here, guys, is that um, I don't think we should. My personal opinion is Turkey has been one of the strongest aviation partners with India since we got on board with Star Alliance. Star Alliance and Turkish Airlines are part of it, and Air India is working with Turkish Airlines, Turkish Technique, MROs in Turkey, even Indigo and SpiceJet have got spare part agreements with Turkish Airlines for the last 15, 20 years. So, I have one is that I think we need to de-link geopolitical views with aviation.
Right.
Even the whole issue with the 777s being operated by Indigo. Indigo and Turkish Airlines are doing nothing wrong in accordance with the law. They're operating an aircraft. You're accessing Indians to millions of destinations at an affordable price. So just because Turkish have a view on a certain geopolitical, skirmish that we had with our neighbor, it doesn't mean you one fine day, India's foreign policy switch to a Kati and an Aba, and our whole aviation sector starts to suffer.
And shifting focus, CNN News 18's Zaka Jacob spoke to Australian Deputy Prime Minister and Defence Minister Richard Marles about the Pahalgam terror attack and India's crackdown on terror. Marles expressed support for India's fight against terror and condemned the attack on civilians. He also hailed the strategic restraint displayed by India during the conflict. Reacting to the United States' claims of mediation, Marles says that it is important to acknowledge that the ceasefire is the act of Indian leadership.
I do want to ask you, I mean, the momentous events that have happened in the last month and a half here, the Pahalgam terror attack in which 26 civilians were killed, and then India responded to that with Operation Sindoor. And the feeling was, certainly amongst the general public, that major Western countries have not come out and supported India for its right to defend itself against these terrorists and these terrorist actions. How would you speak to that concern?
Well, firstly, we met the news of what happened in Pahalgam with utter shock. This was an appalling attack, and Prime Minister Albanese spoke with Prime Minister Modi almost immediately after these events to extend Australian condolences to India on behalf of in respect of the loss of life, and and as I'm here today, we've reiterated that, and to say that our thoughts and prayers are very much with the families of those who lost loved ones. I mean, we stand with India, as we stand with all countries, to combat terrorism. We want to continue to work with India in combating terrorism in all its forms around the world. We do acknowledge and welcome the stoppage in military activity. We actually see that as an act of Indian leadership. But we continue to want to work with India as we confront the scourge of terrorism in all its forms.
You did mention a moment ago that you did note the quick cessation of military action, and you said that that speaks to India's leadership.
Yes.
Would you care to elaborate on that?
Well, I mean, we obviously we welcome a stoppage in military activity, but we don't take any of that for granted. These are difficult decisions, and we see that fundamentally as an act of Indian leadership, and we wanted to acknowledge that in the way in which we express our appreciation for the stoppage in military activity. In the same breath, we wanted to make clear that we do see that as not an easy decision and an act of Indian leadership.
There's been a lot of chatter around the fact that it was the US and President Trump who brought about this ceasefire. The Indian government certainly doesn't agree to that point of view. It was a direct negotiation between India and Pakistan. How would you view that?
Well, it's in the terms that I just said, and why we are. It's important that we express it in the way that I just have. I mean, every country has an interest in living in a peaceful world. So we all appreciate the stoppage in military activity, but we acknowledge this as an act of Indian leadership, and that's the point we want to make.
And getting you a wrap of all the other news, Prime Minister Narendra Modi flagged off 200 electric buses in Delhi under the state government's Sustainable Transport Initiative. The move aims to boost eco-friendly public transport in the capital. Prime Minister Modi also planted a sapling as part of the Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam campaign. Present at the event were Delhi LG VK Saxena, Chief Minister Rekha Gupta, Union Minister Bhupendra Yadav and Delhi Cabinet Minister Manjinder Singh Sirsa. On World Environment Day, Prime Minister Narendra Modi planted a sindoor sapling at his residence at 7 Lok Kalyan Marg. The sapling was gifted to him by a group of women from Kutch who had shown exemplary courage during the 1971 war. Deeply moved by the gesture during his recent visit, Prime Minister Modi had promised to plant it. The consecration of the Ram Darbar took place today in Ayodhya. The consecration involved the installation of idols of Ram and other deities within the Sri Ram Janmabhoomi complex. This marks the second such event following the first Pran Pratishtha held in January last year. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath attended the Ram Darbar consecration ceremony and offered prayers. Despite heavy rains causing havoc in the northeast, the authorities swiftly restored connectivity on the Tato-Manchuka road in Arunachal Pradesh by repairing a 20-meter breach and installing a Hume pipe culvert in just 26 hours. The Seom Valley remains under close watch with focused efforts to keep roads open despite ongoing landslides. The National Investigation Agency is conducting extensive raids across Jammu and Kashmir, targeting multiple locations in Pulwama, Shopian, Sopore and Kupwara. Raids are also underway at the residence of Lashkar-e-Taiba commander, the slain Lashkar-e-Taiba commander Shakur Ahmed Dar in Kulgam. Now, these operations are part of ongoing efforts to crack down on terror networks and gather crucial intelligence. And the centre will conduct a nationwide COVID-19 mock drill today on the 5th of June to assess hospital preparedness as active cases cross 4,000 following a spike in infections. The Health Ministry has directed states to ensure the availability of oxygen, isolation beds, ventilators and essential medicines. A preliminary drill assessing oxygen infrastructure was already held on the 2nd of June as part of the emergency readiness measures. And that's all we have to pack it on the show. We're going to take a quick break. More news and updates on the other side.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Checks at major Indian airports. Concerns have been raised over the airline's adherence to international and domestic aviation standards. Inspections took place in Hyderabad, Chennai, Delhi and Bengaluru. These inspections found that cargo classified as dangerous goods did not have the required permissions from the DGCA for transportation of explosives to and from India. These permissions were neither attached nor referenced in the dangerous goods declaration, which is a significant lapse that was identified at the Bengaluru airport, where the marshaller responsible to guide the aircraft during taxiing was found untrained. Civil Aviation Ministry has now asked Turkish Airlines to address these findings promptly and ensure full compliance with standards and recommendation practices. Anvit now joins us, getting us more details. Anvit, what does this mean for the future of the airlines? Is there any response coming in from Turkish Airlines to these queries that have been raised by the DGCA?
See, no response as such, but the DGCA guidelines are very strict when it comes to dangerous goods, which has recently been found on the Turkish planes that had landed at the 4 of the airports in Delhi, major airports in India. And the guidelines very clearly say that the laid down procedures, they should determine that as far as possible that the associated documentation of the aircraft that is carrying such goods should meet all norms. It has been found that the goods, that undeclared dangerous goods that was on board one of the Turkish Airlines planes, that had not been declared, and it had not been, the competent authorities had not been informed about it. In fact, one of the violations, grave violations, is also that the marshaller competency. Marshalers are basically staff who guide the plane when it is on ground, their job is to safely and efficiently guide an aircraft when it is grounded. And it was also found at the Bangalore airport that the marshaller handling ground operations, they lack proper authorization and valid competency for marshalling functions. And in fact, if we talk about the Hyderabad and airport, at both Hyderabad and Bengaluru airport, where Globe Grounds India was providing ground services, it was also found that without formal handover from Celebi, against which the Indian government had recently taken action, it was found that no service level agreement, that is SLA, was in place between Turkish Airlines and its ground handling agent. So these are grave violations that have been noticed in a surprise inspection that was carried out by DGC between 29th May and 2 June. And this was safety oversight and RAP inspection that was conducted at 4 airports: Delhi, Hyderabad, Chennai, and Bangalore. And some grave violations have come before, against which Turkish Airlines officially has not commented so far. But these are important in the wake of the recent comment that Turkey had made, supporting barbaric attacks in Pahalgam, and also the aftermath thereafter that had happened, that tourists from India had, boycotted traveling to Turkey. Then Celebi's contract was also terminated. So following that, it certainly is an important development as far as India-Turkey relations are concerned.
Right, Anvit, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. Checks at major Indian airports. Concerns have been raised over the airline's adherence to international and domestic aviation standards. Inspections took place in Hyderabad, Chennai, Delhi and Bengaluru. These inspections found that cargo classified as dangerous goods did not have the required permissions from the DGCA for transportation of explosives to and from India. These permissions were neither attached nor referenced in the dangerous goods declaration, which is a significant lapse that was identified at the Bengaluru airport, where the marshaller responsible to guide the aircraft during taxiing was found untrained. Civil Aviation Ministry has now asked Turkish Airlines to address these findings promptly and ensure full compliance with standards and recommendation practices. Anvit now joins us, getting us more details. Anvit, what does this mean for the future of the airlines? Is there any response coming in from Turkish Airlines to these queries that have been raised by the DGCA?
See, no response as such, but the DGCA guidelines are very strict when it comes to dangerous goods, which has recently been found on the Turkish planes that had landed at the 4 of the airports in Delhi, major airports in India. And the guidelines very clearly say that the laid down procedures, they should determine that as far as possible that the associated documentation of the aircraft that is carrying such goods should meet all norms. It has been found that the goods, that undeclared dangerous goods that was on